So, start with the mental health podcast that Kris and I do, which is called A Different Human Dimension, abbreviated to ADHD. And we basically hear from people from the community and interview guests to let them tell us their story and share their experience, which has been helping other people who are listening, sort of like a shared experience type thing. Yeah, we've had some really good
Yeah,
guests on.
it's a how would you say it? It wasn't a set plan and going, this is the way, this is the format it's going to be. We're just making a creative environment where people feel free to go and express themselves. And it just so happens it's through the subject of neurodiversity and mental health. Okay, because they kind of go hand in hand. And it just so happens part of the chapter I was in life, I was going through that. And same with Kyle, both as well, since before we started the podcast, I just got diagnosed. And during the time we've been recording the podcast, Kyle has been diagnosed with like neurodivergent conditions. But the contact we had is, as we said, as long as it helps one person, it's kind of doing what we set it up for. And it's helped several people. It's even helped ourselves when we're doing it. But we've had several guests on from different walks of life, different age groups and all that stuff as well. Because a lot of ones you hear, it's usually one person talking to a lot of clinical people or parental people talking about what's happened to their kids, and that it wasn't a lot about not just late diagnosis, but then it comes to treatments, and it's not just medication, and then all these things led on to us having conversations with different people. So we've had a politician on, we've had authors on, we've had musicians on, but again, it's just growing itself. So we're just seeing how it grows, but it's a platform for people to express themselves on. So it's not like a set script in it. It's a couple of neurodivergent people getting other neurodivergent people on to go and talk about neurodivergent things and how life is. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Hearing that, you see, if you don't see that and hear that in the media much, and having no boundaries, and usually clip bits and bits in there, and then people can become frustrated with not hearing their own voices there.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what it's set up for.
And then the
landscape
the storytelling landscape podcast, slightly different. That's more looking at the history of places, specifically in Orkney, and that is sort of bringing in old like folklore and old history into the kind of modern age and educating kind of younger people, so those stories don't get lost in the digital world. They can kind of translate to do
passing on the oral tradition and another medium, because the oral tradition has been passed around from fires to reading out books to people, to the radio, to cassettes, to God, I'm saying all of that, to all these things through it. But now through the visual side of things and all this stuff, and digitally wise, it's the same thing, but it's telling oral stories, because not everything was always written down. And again, as maybe talking about, because he's the producer, he works in that. I don't actually work in it, but the way I'm linked in it is because my mum's the one he works with. So I've been brought up around her storytelling and what she does at the centre and stuff. And it's trying to make what she does at the centre into a platform so she can reach a different audience. Because sometimes it is hard to go and travel to remote areas and remote places in this world. And everybody all over the world has something to go and tell a story and tell stories about. And just so happens where she is
rich in
history. And she's got a lot of local voices to be able to go and tell their stories on it as well, about historical things.
Yeah, it's documenting these people's stories, because some of the time the people that are still living there who have this history won't have had the chance to document their story. So it's quite cool in that aspect. You're kind of like archiving almost in a weird way.
Yeah.
Interactive in the sense that for the Different Human Dimension podcast, like that will go out online, but it also goes into a lot of community groups as well, which people comment on the episodes and sort of like comment like things back and forth. Kris, you're quite up on like, interacting with people that are listening to the podcast, like helping them out, like all that kind of thing.
Yeah, if I hear any comments and so on, or if I have any comments come back in the messages from myself and there, I interact with the people there, and if there's any information or any, it sounds like, oh God, I'm going to sound like a BBC one here with a thingy announcers going. If there are any of these problems that affect you, like no, but if there's anything I can point them in the right direction, or at least get them to go and ask the right questions, that's the best thing I can do. Is because again, it's to do with helping folk if we can. Again, hopefully this is leading to a platform that's other creative things will lead from this, but when it comes to interactivity, when it comes to the mental health side of things, it's, if people contact, we try and put on the month as much information and as people that can help, or if they need to. Again, I've always put it on the in every single one. If you need to, just DM me. Or is it DM? Is that right? Yeah, PM, DM me, and I'm here free for a chat anytime at all. Because like I've sat there and heard the radio talking about things, and I've been left in a situation to go and phone up like helplines. And sometimes you get in them helplines, and they put no offence in any bad way, but they sometimes are not understanding what the conditions you're going through or what's that there. So part of the reason why I started the podcast as well. So I've actually felt there's a space people could hear their own voices. Not and again, this is talking about mental health, but not in a bad way. Hearing their own voices, not hearing voices. Let's just make sure I get that clear.
Yeah, so I think, and then in terms of a storytelling landscape, interactivity for that is podcast again, a bit online, but a lot of we do some like live streamed events as well, which is basically, we've just finished up one just now which ran for 6 weeks. We produce sort of hour-long sort of live stream films that are digital tickets online, so that anyone in the world, wherever they are, can view the content basically. The way that works quite well is it's not a specific time it has to happen, so we just run it for 6 weeks. If you buy a ticket, you can watch it whenever you like within that time, so it kind of makes it a bit more accessible. I guess not to be aware of. I think more to keep in mind that people don't always operate the same way as everyone else, and one person's way of producing online content or setting up an online project might not be the same as another person's. So it's finding that middle balance. If it's a team project or if it's a solo project, it's like finding out what works for you or what works for the people in the team. Like, how do your personalities like work? Kris, you say we're like yin and yang, right?
Yeah, yeah. An ADHD or someone with autism, it kind of helps balance the bit there.
Totally.
As well as try and help promote the help that is there, the professional help that is there. Okay, and not all of it is, and I'm not knocking any specific ones, but not all of it is right for everybody. Okay, so some of it's not right for the when it comes to the treatments they're getting offered on, but sometimes it's just offering, there is suggestions to go and ask for help in different directions. Sometimes it gets people just to go and reflect on, sometimes it's hard just to even go and receive help. Okay, and even perceive the problems are not something they're going through on their own, or there is other people going through the same thing. Okay, and it's not, this thing as well, it's not trying to sell a cure. Okay, because if you're sitting out there doing snake oil when it comes to mental health, you're talking absolute nonsense. Yeah, I mean, if I'm sitting there going, I've got a cure for ADHD, no, it's not. Right?
It's about
and that there needs to be, that's got a lot of work from the other side of things now. That doesn't just happen online. Okay, that needs to be person to person things, and there can be things that work online. Because myself, I've got a setup right now. I've got an ADHD coach I work with online, but I've also got someone that's your personal assistant wise that helps me on a weekly basis and comes around a human point of contact. Now, a human point of contact you still need to have, okay, or an environmental situation as well. It can't always happen. Everything can't happen digitally. Do you know what I mean? I know everybody's trying to get to the stage that we're all wired in and plugged in and we're all in meta or whatever thing is there and we're all in a universe that we don't have to feel anything. That's not going to happen, okay? Because we're part of human beings as we feel things. Unfortunately, we're making a society that we're trying to digitize everything. And again, when that comes to that, it's everything's trying to get monetized. Okay, because then when you're trying to put feelings into that, it's never going to mix well. Okay. There's elements which you said about the voice notes and stuff like that. Sometimes video clips, something like that. But again, people think privacy, this, that, and that. When it's typed down, just in text. Some people can take text and bring it alive in their head, like they read books and read fiction. I find that difficult. Yeah, I mean, I don't believe what's in them text. If I see someone talking about it, or I hear someone talking, that's how my sensories take it in. So it depends on the person. Depends what the sensories is. So it's hard to go and say pinpoint one thing. But I can say none of it will take away that human interaction. I would say one thing is CGI. Really, that's all just me because I'm an old style animation and working with puppets and that just ears me out as well because it's just too computer generated, right? Again, text can be computer generated, but actually seeing someone interact, and it's hard to say because some people can be really shy in front of cameras. Again, obviously TikTok's become what they are and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I used to work in the communication arts side of things and work with kids that are like mute in school and that, but they could work through having a mask on or a puppet and that. Oh God, okay. You better, if this is this better, I'm going to keep this in my head when I'm saying this. But if you want to know what's a more human interaction with it, is like I've had kids come alive that have been mute and all that stuff when they've been like given something to go and talk through. So I mean, I'm going to patent this already here right now saying this actually. I've not even thought it through when I'm saying there. But if someone actually, if they're scared of work talking in front of the camera, they could just talk with that instead. I mean, you don't have to be a ventriloquist to go and talk with that, but someone might be more expressive when they're talking about, oh my goodness, well actually I'm damn fucking annoyed with this one or whatever there. Yeah, but if you see visuals and that stuff, so who knows, you could have a digital, I mean, this sounds like something, and then that could lead to other things. Who knows what could pick up with that? But nah, the bits there watching CGI things and all these, they don't look real to me. They don't feel real. They don't feel like that. Yeah, I mean, so there'd be a teddy bear that talked for them or whatever that, and they go, I talk about Ted, like that kind of thing. Like, fair enough, don't put the wrong chip in him, so he might be a bit sweary on that. But that there, watching these CGI avatars, that's what they're called. Oh, it makes everybody looks like they've had Botox and stuff, and it just looks just no right. It's just that's not going to make anybody real watching a face and eyes. But something like that. I've sat in workshops with kids, and they've came alive in the room when they wouldn't interact with other people in the room when they've had a mask on them or a, you know what I mean? Okay.
It's quite hard to.
It sounds kind of strange that when someone comes in the thing and they're wearing I mean, there's me, man. Like there's digital gimp masks. No, there's no that sense there, but some people just that, and some people will take text and be able to do it and that, but some people dyslexic can't pick up that. So there's not one way. I mean, that's what we're trying to put the art of communication into a medium. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there's certain things you can't do in radio. There's certain things you can do in movies. There's certain limitations in everyone. And if you're trying to make it more human, well, it depends how much human you put into it. It's, I mean, honest content. Best thing I can say is honest content.